Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at the original beast, the original Xbox, this big boy right here. This thing is hefty, man. I am very new to the original Xbox. I did not embrace this system until very recently. Never played one before until, a few months back. And I've been really enjoying it. Essentially the way I'm looking at this thing is like, this is the Dreamcast 2. This is what the Dreamcast 2 would have been. And since I got this and been enjoying the games, I've been trying to explore other ways to output this to my modern TV. So that's where this comes in. The HD link cable for the original Xbox. This is giving you HDMI for this bad boy right here. And I think that's pretty cool because your options were fairly limited if you're using this on a modern TV. You could use Composite, which I believe is what the system came with. You can use Component, and a lot of companies do make component cables. But, to future-proof yourself, HDMI is kind of the way to go. A lot of TVs are cutting out outputs, and we're losing outputs on modern TVs. They're, kind of sticking to HDMI. Luckily, my TVs still have Component, Composite, S-Video, stuff like that, so I can test a lot of different things. So today, that's what we're going to specifically do, is we're going to compare the output from this cable on the original Xbox to Composite and also to Component. So Composite, we're going to be plugging this bad boy into the RetroTink 2X. That's the only way I can record, so I'm being upfront about how we're recording everything. Composite through the RetroTink 2X, going through 2X mode, that's what we're going to be having it set at. Component, I'm going to be using Monster component cables, and I do have that passed through on my OSSC so I can record that way. Otherwise, I can't normally record Component without using the OSSC or the RetroTink. So then we're going to be recording this direct to HDMI. So let's go ahead and unbox this real quick before we start that test. This thing, 6-foot cable, plug and play, nothing you really should need to do. We previously took a look at the Dreamcast version on the channel, and I dug it. That thing works pretty well, so I'm really looking forward to checking this out. Not a lot of information on the box, just plug and play, no power supply needed, HD ready. And I know with this updated version, some people were confused. I think this is the one where it may have like a little port. Here, let's just take it out of the baggie, because there's a little power port, like a little micro USB right there, but that doesn't need to be used. I think that was in the development of this newer version. They were looking at different things with that, but right now you don't have to use that. It's just plug and play. So this then plugs into your Xbox, and then you get an HDMI cable that plugs into the other end of the pound cable, and then straight to your TV. Pretty quality feeling stuff. Doesn't feel overly cheap or anything. You get a little thank you card. We don't really need to look at that. And then just some information. It does tell you that you have to go to your settings on your Xbox, pretty much. Let me see what that says. The Pound HD Link is a plug-and-play solution. However, some options in the Xbox may need to be enabled for full compatibility. This quick start guide will walk you through. Please note that not all games feature full HD. Most, but not all games run widescreen 480p, and some on 720p, and a few select titles offer 1080i. And you can find that information online. But yeah, pretty nifty. Shows you how to use the menu in the system. This system has it's modified. I'm not an expert on modding or anything. This has the Josh Lineberry 2 terabyte drive in it, pre-set up for me. Everything ready to go from Virgil Kellogg. Appreciate it, dude. So let's go ahead and test out some footage. I'm gonna just play through the footage, give my comments. You'll clearly see what we're doing. So let's jump into it. Okay guys, first up we have Composite, and we are running this through the RetroTink 2X, so it is line doubling. And it's still kind of blurry. You're not really gonna get much out of Composite, but for a lot of people that that was just the way they knew the Xbox. So that's the original option we had with this system, and it's just hard to make out details. You know, the textures are blurry. It's, you know, it's a very soft image. Not a lot of people are going to want to play their Xbox this way, so enjoy the footage and we'll jump into Component next. Okay guys, next up is Component, and man, this is definitely a huge improvement over Composite. The colors are more vibrant, the image is more sharp and crisp, the details are there, everything's just looking a heck of a lot better. So this is what a lot of people have been using over the years. You know, there's various makers of component cables for the system. The official ones are expensive as all heck and very hard to find, but there are options out there, and if your TV supports Component, this is definitely a good way to go. So let's go ahead and watch the rest of the footage and then jump into the HDMI cable. Okay, and finally we do have the HDMI pound cable. Now, the one thing I immediately noticed recording all this was very comparable to Component. Definitely a heck of a lot better than Composite. But what I did notice is the colors are not as bright through the HDMI pound cables. A little tiny slight bit softer than Component. Not hugely noticeable. Some people might prefer this image to the image we've seen with Component, and I really don't see an issue there. The other thing I do want to point out, I have lowered the volume of the game sounds here, but the HDMI pound cable, my volume output comes through a lot lower than it does through Component or Composite. Not a huge difference, but noticeable. So let's go ahead and enjoy the footage, and then we'll talk about it a little more at the end. Okay guys, so here at the end of the video, I'm just going to kind of show the main menu that I have on my system through each of the output options that I showcased in the video, and just kind of talk about it a little more. So Composite for me is just, there's no reason I would ever want to use Composite, even going through the RetroTink and whatnot. Component, you see it's kind of jittering here. That's just because my recording through the OSSC does that with some output options. On my TV, I didn't see that whatsoever. Going to the HDMI, second we shift over to that, you'll see the colors kind of, get a little less bright anyway, but still looks good. So really, the decision is going to be up to you. And there's going to be pros and cons with either way you go. I think the HDMI pound cables work great. The output looks awesome. It's a simple plug-and-play solution. Component definitely wins it for me as far as, the colors being nicer and everything being a little bit more sharper. But I think for a lot of people, the HDMI pound cables will be something of interest because you're still getting comparable output. Everything looks good and definitely looks a heck of a lot better than Composite. So that's a huge plus. The other thing, and I don't always speak on this, but for people who want to stream, on Twitch or YouTube, or they want to make videos of gameplay, using HDMI is the simplest, easiest way to do that. So if that's something you're into or looking into doing, especially if you're going to use a Xbox, either play some old school Xbox games or use it as an emulation machine to capture footage, I think the HDMI pound cables definitely give you an edge there, because you don't need anything else. For me to even record Component, I have to use the OSSC. To record Composite, I have to at least use the RetroTink to even be able to record or stream any of this stuff. With HDMI, I don't need anything extra. It just works. And I think it's a damn good option for plenty of people out there. Component cables, there's a lot of Chinese manufacturers and just third-party, no-name brand component cables that are out there that I've just seen really bad reviews on. A lot of people have had issues with them. The ones I used in this video were the Monster component cables, and while they are not exactly perfect, they definitely do the job. I just don't like how the connections are so tight. Like, I really did not want to use that on my OSSC, because these cables are notorious for pulling apart the connections on TVs and whatnot, but I was very careful. So that's a definite huge con for the Monster cables. But I just like to showcase these options out there. If you're interested in the HDMI pound cable, you can check him out on CastlemaniaGames.com. He also has the Dreamcast version there, which I think is pretty sweet. You can use my code PIXEL10 for 10% off most items on his shop. I'm not 100% with these, but you could check it out. Also, get on that wish list for that RetroTink 2X. Love the device, been using it a lot for my old school retro systems. So I hope this video helped give you a better idea of the different options that are out there. Really appreciate you guys stopping in. Smash that like button, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Hit that notification bell here so you can be notified every time I upload a video. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, guys, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom!